Hello and welcome to a new series on the channel, a new game on the channel. We're going to be playing F1 2021, as you can see here. We're going to skip past this screen so we can get rid of that incredibly loud music. And as you'll have seen, hopefully on Thursday, that was the plan. You'll have seen episode 1 of Breaking Point. And today is a little Sunday special. I've decided we're going to have a little experiment. We're going to start off a driver career. I've started us with Williams, as you can see, and we're going to simulate the 10 years of career mode. Hopefully this will be out on Sunday. If it's not, then whatever I'm saying right now, just pretend it says the day we're actually on. I'm hoping to get it simulated by Sunday. Maybe we'll do up to season 5 for Sunday, and the next 5 seasons for next Sunday even. But we're going to simulate through those 10 years of career mode and see what happens. As mentioned, we're starting with Williams. I don't know if sackings are in this game. I imagine they are. So the plan will be we're going to switch between Williams and Haas, the two teams at the bottom of the grid at the moment, so that everyone else gets their full experience. It'll just be two teams that are impacted by having me on the team, switching between them. We're going to see how the drivers progress. If the game believes Red Bull are going to be as dominant as they appear to be in real life at the moment. Obviously, as of recording, Max is on 4 wins in a row, and Mercedes are playing catch up a little bit going into Silverstone. I'm recording this just before we get to practice of Silverstone, so it'll be interesting to see how this weekend goes. But does the game reflect that? At the moment, it appears not. Mercedes clearly out. I say clearly, just out in front of Red Bull. Then a big midfield battle between Aston Martin and McLaren. Then a little bit of a drop off to Ferrari, a slightly bigger drop off to Alpine and the AlphaTauri. And then you've got Alfa Romeo above the struggling Haas and Williams. I have unfortunately kicked Nicholas Latifi out of the team. If we're gonna have Williams in as one of the teams that we're sacrificing, George Russell is going to be the guy that remains in. So it'll be interesting to see if he leaves and what happens with that. I imagine he probably will. Realistically, he's probably going to go off to Mercedes, but we'll simulate through, just have a quick look at the car reveal, see if that looks anything different to what it did last year. Here we are. I'm guessing it looks the same. And there we are. It is pretty much the same animation as what we had last year, although I will say last year I was playing on Xbox. On PC it does look quite phenomenal, and that Williams does look fantastic this year. I wasn't keen on it when it first got released, but it's grown on me. It's definitely grown on me. So we might struggle to get sacked here because there's not too much that we're looking for season objective wise. So what we're going to do is we're going to advance through the first season for you, and we'll be back after the final race at Abu Dhabi. Of course, at the moment we are missing a few races, unfortunately. That's going to be out on DLC soon. I might wait on my team career mode until we get those 3 races. I don't know at the moment when that's going to be out. But let's advance through the first season of F1 2021 career mode and see who comes away with the Drivers' Championship. Predictions down below. Is it going to be Max? Is it going to be Hamilton? Or similar to last year, is it going to be Bottas who gets quite a good result? Because he was always really good in my career modes, at least. So, or is Perez gonna upset the apple cart? Leave your predictions down below. I'm gonna say the first year is gonna be a Hamilton win, but we'll see how it goes. And we are back at the end of season 1 of the career mode simulation. However, I have advanced one too many times, unfortunately. Lesson learned for next season. And going and having a look at the drivers' standings, my prediction was so nearly right because your winner of the Drivers' Championship is Valtteri Bottas, picking up 372 points, finishing ahead of Lewis Hamilton. You can see there where I've advanced slightly too far because Bottas is now moving to Red Bull, sealing the World Championship driver. Hamilton remains at Mercedes, who, as you can see on the right hand side, won the Constructors' Championship, but a shock finish for number 3 and 4, and second in the Constructors' Championship in McLaren, with Lando Norris and Ricciardo finishing 1 point away from each other, which has meant they've outperformed Red Bull by nearly 100 points. And you'll notice Sergio Perez is without a drive for next season after a relatively good season at Red Bull. You know, he stayed in touch with Max Verstappen, who's left Red Bull. He's headed off to Ferrari to replace Carlos Sainz, who's gone to Red Bull. So quite a few driver changes in the top 3 teams, traditionally, I should say, because McLaren are breaking into that. So big changes there. Then we've got Vettel, Alonso, Gasly, Stroll, Tsunoda, Ocon, Giovinazzi, Mick Schumacher, Kimi Raikkonen, Mazepin, and then myself and George Russell. One thing I did realise partway through the season, if we go and look at the R&D, is you can see I didn't realise for quite a while that, of course, this year you've got the option for the game to do your progress for you. So you can see I realised this at the Italian Grand Prix, so that was when we had our first upgrade. So kind of my own doing. Williams have been left in the dust a little bit, and I can only apologise to them for that. But we have got a lot of R&D points. We'll make up the gap over the off season, I'm sure. And then if we have a look at the season results, you can see Bottas with a ton of fastest laps and a fair few wins. What's that? 5, 6, 8, 9 wins for Valtteri Bottas. Only once he was outside the top 10, and that was in Australia. Lewis Hamilton outshined by Bottas, which isn't something that we get to say very often in real life. Simulated me and Russell, in part due to the error on my behalf. We're kind of the bottom 2, but no points picked up for Alfa Romeo, Haas, or Williams. However, next season, who knows? We've got I don't know what regulation changes we've got going on. I don't think we've really got any this year. We have aerodynamics are going to be affected, as is the chassis. Oh, I'm going into things that I wasn't meant to be going into. So there are changes coming in there. It'll be interesting to see how the teams adapt. Will it cause a change at the top? Can McLaren really push on? I mean, you can see here, according to the R&D chart at the end of the season, Aston Martin and Alpine are both above Ferrari and McLaren, but McLaren getting the best out of the team, out of the car, I should say. So an interesting first season. We'll get into season 2 and see how Verstappen adapts to the Ferrari, and if Bottas can retain the World Drivers' Championship with Red Bull, something that Verstappen, as of yet, was never able to even win. Bottas hasn't won it with Red Bull, so we'll see how that goes for him. Is that a good career decision? Can he really pull out of Hamilton's shadow in season 2? So here we are, we've made it to the end of season 2. I've stopped before the negotiations, so we're not going to get driver changes, and your F1 champion this year is Lewis Hamilton, storming away with it, 445 points, although his teammate Nicholas Latifi not quite up to the same standard. It would be fair to say 175 points, but enough for Mercedes to win the Constructors' Championship. So the move to Red Bull not going quite how Bottas expected. Although, what else have we got? Looks like Raikkonen is retiring this year. Russell surprisingly didn't replace Bottas at Mercedes. It was Latifi, of course, which is a odd decision, but we'll sign on with Williams again, and we'll see what's going to go on this year. Season results wise, it's dominance from Hamilton. There's 4, 5, 6 races that weren't Hamilton wins out of 20. That is ridiculous. 14 wins for him, and look how many fastest laps there are. There's even more fastest laps. There's only 3 that he didn't get fastest lap on. So an incredible year for Hamilton and Mercedes. Not so good for Latifi. Will he be replaced? As you can see, for myself, only DNF'd once in Sochi. But obviously, I'm not actually racing with this, so average grid position of 20, average finish of 18, and the R&D at the end of the year showing that we did overtake Haas at one point, but they're still very much the bottom 2 teams. McLaren have been all over the place this year, but starting to improve and go back up to 3rd in the group. Let's have a look at how that comes out after the winter break. So as you can see, for the new season, we're going to be going to Haas because I messed up our contract and didn't get renewed at Williams. So we're going to be joining Mick Schumacher at Haas, or at least I assume we are. Let's go and find out if there's been any changes. And for the new season, are there any? So Kimi did retire, so it'll be interesting to see who's replaced him. No mention of transfers there, so let's have a look. There has been transfers though, so we can see straight away. You've got Sainz leaving Red Bull to go to Alfa Romeo, and then who's replacing him? Sebastian Vettel replaces him. And Alfa Romeo have got a new lineup completely because Giovinazzi has left as well. And it's Zhu who is going to go there. I believe it's a Perez wasn't at AlphaTauri last year, was he? No, because Vettel's gone to Red Bull. Perez went to... No, Perez got dropped, so Perez replaces Sainz at AlphaTauri, I think. I've got all sorts of lost over this. But anyway, the point is, Sainz has gone to Alfa Romeo, which is a big, bold move, unless he was dropped by Red Bull. Progress-wise, most teams are making improvements. We've stayed where we are. But Alpine jump above Ferrari and Aston Martin going into the first race of the Grand Prix. And it's very tight between Mercedes and Red Bull. Can this be the year that Valtteri establishes why he left Mercedes to join Red Bull? Or is Vettel going to pull up a shock title challenge? Or, even more shocking, is it going to be Latifi? We'll find out soon. So here we are now, end of season 3. As you can see, we're still at Haas. we have been developing the car a little bit by the automated thing. Williams seem to have benefited without us, as Haas are now back to being the worst team on the grid. As you can see, it was quite a battle between Red Bull and Mercedes in the R&D, with Mercedes taking a big leap going into the Australian Grand Prix, and McLaren have taken a big jump at the end of the season where Alpine were about to overtake them. But the big shock is Aston Martin just kind of getting overtook. They were level pretty much with Alpine and Ferrari. McLaren slightly ahead of them, and they were well ahead of AlphaTauri, who have jumped well above them, and now AlphaTauri and Ferrari are battling. So very poor year if you're an Aston Martin driver. But ending the season, you'll see world champion is Lewis Hamilton, although this year was far more hard fought, with Bottas close behind him. Vettel was actually closer. Well, Vettel led for the championship for a while and just seemed to drop off. But Latifi has done enough in the second Mercedes to enable Mercedes to win the Constructors' Championship again, so they retain both titles this season. And, well, in fact, every season, because yes, Bottas left them, but it was still a Mercedes title and Constructors' Championship, so Mercedes dominance continuing according to F1 2021. McLaren are well up there. Ricciardo looks like he might be retiring though, or at least he's being dropped. And if we scroll further down, we don't know who's going to be replacing Ricciardo yet. I imagine that's a retirement from the looks of it. But as you can see here, the wins are a lot more spread out than they were last year. Considering last year it was 14 wins for Hamilton. This year, far, far less. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 races. So he only got 9 wins, Hamilton, this year. So a lot more of an even season. And you see Vettel was doing quite well at one stage. A couple of DNFs really knocked him out of his stride, though, in Hungary and Holland. Meanwhile, down the bottom, it's still no points if you're Williams, Alfa Romeo, or Haas. I don't think there've been any points for the teams at all. Although Aston Martin picking up 1 point in the whole season, it was Lance Stroll in the first race. Horrendous season for Aston Martin. And with Ricciardo seemingly retiring, it'll be interesting to see what happens next. It is Ricciardo retiring, so let me know who you think's going to replace him. I'm going to take a random guess. Sergio Perez is going to go to McLaren. Let's go and see if I'm right. And here we are for the new season. The car back under the covers, even though it's going to look exactly the same as it has every year. Let's have a first look here. So lots of teams dropping down in the rankings, although Mercedes not taking quite as big a hit as Red Bull, who drop into a bit of a battle with McLaren. Is it going to be another Mercedes domination year? And outside of that, Ferrari take quite a big drop. They were level with AlphaTauri, who now go above Alpine because of the drops. And if we go and look at the teams, so you've still got the same top 4 there. Fernando Alonso going to McLaren. I thought about saying him. Leclerc going to Alpine to replace Fernando Alonso. So we've got to find out who the new Ferrari driver is. Everyone else there looks the same. Sainz still at Alfa Romeo. I thought it was going to be Mick at Ferrari, but it's not. Mazepin has gone to Alpine, and Christian Lundgaard has gone to Ferrari. So Ocon's gone to Alfa Romeo to replace Guangzhou. So he then gets replaced by Mazepin, who takes the step up after being rejected by Haas last year. So, as we can see, if we look at the season results, it is Mercedes dominance all the way through so far. With the only real upset being that Bottas won the first title, and McLaren had a cracking first season. Red Bull have kind of restored back into that number 2 slot, but McLaren's still looking dangerous most of the time. Ferrari not quite back to their full strengths, but they could be onto something with Verstappen and Lundgaard. I'm not sure I back it, but you never know. Hopefully, we can, at some point in this 10 years, get something other than Mercedes dominance. So back for the end of Season 4 now, and we've had some interesting developments, because if we look at the R&D chart, you can see for a while in the season, Mercedes were completely dominant, and it did show in the races. However, Alfa Romeo have had quite the charge from being the second worst team on the grid, and now, although they're still not one of the best teams on the grid, they're far more in that battle. AlphaTauri actually had a 1-2, I think it was at Zandvoort. They started 1-2 on the grid. Unfortunately, Hamilton did get past them, and Hamilton did win the World Championship once again. You can see here the Mercedes dominance, because in Belgium and the final race in Abu Dhabi are the only races where a Mercedes didn't win the race. So you can really see the dominance there, and you can also see quite a few 1-2s for Hamilton and Latifi, who's Hamilton's kind of walked away with that one with relative ease, but Pierre Gasly finishing third, Lando Norris in fourth. You can see there's a bit of a battle going on in the midfield. You can also see Bottas greyed out. He's retiring from F1. And also, what rather surprisingly, you can see Lundgaard there getting 10 points for Ferrari and then being greyed out. Well, what happened there, he had a very poor start to the season with, only 9th place finishes at best. And from what I can work out, Charles Leclerc has returned to Ferrari, replacing Max Verstappen, replacing Lundgaard, who drops out of the F1 currently. Verstappen also won Abu Dhabi, so positive signs for Ferrari going into the new season. And then Leclerc went from Alpine to Ferrari, which meant Zhou returns to F1 with Alpine. Doesn't manage to pick up any points, but nevertheless makes his return. And you can see here as well, despite the increase in performance for Alfa Romeo, only 4 points picked up, and they were all Carlos Sainz with 10th place finishes. So they'll be hoping they can convert it into much better performance next season. If we go back to the R&D performance, doesn't look like we've got any resets over the winter, so it'll be interesting. We'll come back and have a look at any driver changes. Of course, who's going to be replacing Valtteri Bottas at Red Bull. And so here we are, the start of season 5. Let's have a first quick look at the progress. So a lot of teams seeming relatively stable. A big jump from Aston Martin, and Alfa Romeo and Alpine also getting a bit of an increase. You can see Haas and Williams are the two teams getting left behind. So it's going to be another year without points, most likely, for the simulated Andrew. However, what have we got here then? So no changes in the top few. Fernando Alonso still at McLaren. Lundgaard has gone to Alfa Romeo, and Carlos Sainz has gone to Red Bull to be partners with Sebastian Vettel. Then Giovinazzi at Aston Martin, I think he was already there, wasn't he? So only really the one change there, with Lundgaard going to Alfa Romeo, Sainz going to Red Bull. But we'll keep a closer eye on it this year to see if we can spot any driver transfers at the halfway point like we had last year. And hopefully this year we'll get a bit more of a challenge at the top, because you can see there you've got 8 of the teams all in quite a tight section on the performance chart. Mercedes still leading the way, but hopefully we'll get a new winner this year, because so far it has just been Mercedes all over. It would be nice to see somebody else claim the World Drivers' Championship. Let's see if it can happen. So here we are for the end of Season 5 now. And if we have a quick look at the R&D charts, you can see it's been a strong season for Mercedes, but they haven't managed to improve their car at all. I'm guessing that must mean they're maxed out, I suppose. But Red Bull also appear to have now maxed out their cars. In fact, a few of them seem to be maxed out because they're all kind of at that top. They're just kind of all leveled off. So Red Bull in theory now have the best car on track. Williams have got up there as well. However, going into next season there's going to be big changes, because we're going to have aerodynamics, chassis and powertrain regulation changes. So a big change incoming. It'll be interesting to see which teams have adapted most. In theory, Mercedes will be able to adapt the most to that. However, the season has not been Mercedes. It has been Ferrari domination, with Verstappen and Leclerc in a heck of a battle into the final race for the Drivers' Championship. Mercedes 7th and 8th. Absolutely dreadful season for them. Still no points for Williams, Alpine, Alfa Romeo or Haas, which is surprising given the strides Alfa Romeo made last season. And Red Bull not really showing how good their car is. Lando Norris and Pierre Gasly have been phenomenal though. And you can see the season results. That's what I mean when I say Ferrari dominance. There's so many 1-2s. You've got Spain, Monaco, Canada, France, Austria, Hungary, Russia, Singapore, Japan. Oh no, not Japan, sorry. And then Brazil, Australia and Abu Dhabi. All 1-2s for Ferrari. And Verstappen, what would the points be before that? Minus 25, 3, 5, 7, and minus 18. They were level on points going into the final race. Let me know if my maths is off there. I'm fairly sure Verstappen and Leclerc were on level points going into the final race, which means you've got a very legit battle for the title in the final race. Because I mean, I've seen recent ones where they've been like a point, like technically somebody else can win it, but it's like Hamilton's got to finish outside the top 10 and they've got to win, which is very unlikely. But yeah, Ferrari back with a bang this year. And for today's episode, we're going to leave it there with a Ferrari dominant season. 400 points ahead in the Constructors' Championship. Absolutely ridiculous, because although Norris and Gasly did well for their teams, Alonso and particularly Perez just didn't show up. So, very frustrating year if you're Lando Norris, because with a better teammate, perhaps you're battling more for the wins. But Fernando Alonso not able to provide him that. We're going to leave it there. Let me know what you think is going to happen with this massive change in the aerodynamics, chassis and powertrain. That's going to be massive for next season. Out of interest, can we see what we have managed to save? Um, not a lot has been protected by the automated Haas setup. There's a few here in the chassis, and these in the... Oh no, that's not even us. So no, not a lot being protected by Haas, it's fair to say. So looks like they'll be back down at the bottom of the R&D charts. Let me know what you think is going to happen in the next 5 seasons. We're going to advance through. Let me know what you think of what's happened so far. Very surprising to see the Ferrari dominance in that final season, particularly when Red Bull and Mercedes basically had a better car for them almost all season, but Ferrari just untouchable. Is that going to be the end of Latifi at Mercedes? Although he did outperform Hamilton. So let me know what you think. Who do you think is going to be the dominant team in the next 5 years? Who's going to be the dominant driver in the next 5 years? And subscribe for more F1 content on the channel and FM content if you're interested in Football Manager. Thank you very much for watching.